I'm Judy Flattery. I'm president of the Humanist Society of Santa Barbara. Welcome to our February meeting. I want to let you all know that you can follow us on our Facebook page. You can join our Facebook group. You can become a member, or supporter, or patron of the Humanist Society of Santa Barbara. We've been around for 25 years promoting humanism in the Central Coast of California. We're also part of the Secular Coalition of Southern California, and there's just many wonderful events that you can participate in through the Secular Coalition's website. Today, our speaker is Ridvan Aydemir, the Apostate Prophet, and I wanted to tell you a little bit about him and then turn it over to AP, as he's known, to talk. So, first of all, Humanist Society of Santa Barbara is very supportive of the ex-Muslim movement. We've been privileged to welcome other leaders of the international ex-Muslim movement, including, you may remember, Ali Rizvi, who wrote The Atheist Ex-Muslim. He was here in 2017, visiting us in person. Armin Navabi, leader of the Atheist Republic, was here last year in May 2020, and we're thrilled to welcome AP here today. Known as the Apostate Prophet, our speaker is educated, ex-Muslim, Turkish, German, YouTuber, known for his common sense and often humorous critiques of Islam. AP has garnered over 254,000 followers since beginning his YouTube channel in 2017. Now, we just started our YouTube channel, and I think maybe we have 3 followers, so this is quite an accomplishment. He's published over 300 short videos, and he speaks both English, Turkish, and German. And today he'll talk on several topics: recent cases and consequences for ex-Muslims, the contrast between being ex-Christian and being ex-Muslim. I'm ex-Christian. Certainly I've experienced some discomfort in talking openly about that and talking to my family about it, but it's nothing, I think, compared to what an ex-Muslim goes through and risks. I've asked him also, with his background, if he would make some comments on the de-secularization of Turkey, and also the dilemma posed by opposing Islam for atheists and humanists in the West. It gets conflated with Islamophobia.
Judy?
Yes?
You're sharing your desktop. I don't know if there's a slide you're intending.
Yeah, okay, that's not good. Thank you for telling me that.
All right, I was paying attention.
You had told me sooner, but okay. And finally, progress being made in the ex-Muslim movement. So with that, I'll turn it over to AP, and I will stop sharing.
All right. Thank you so much. I don't know if you hear these notification sounds coming from me. I hope that's not a problem. But well, thank you so much, Judy. Thank you for inviting me. Thank you for this opportunity. I really wanted to. I thought this event would be an in-person event before. That's what I was hopeful that I would be there and I would see everybody and make my presentation that way. Unfortunately, the circumstances have not really allowed that. But I'm glad to be here. I wanted to present or prepare certain things that I wanted to show and present, but I kind of felt like this topic is a topic that is personally very important to me, and that I want to approach a little bit more naturally as it comes. So I haven't prepared anything to see. I haven't prepared anything to show from my side. I would rather simply share my experiences, my past, my insights, and so on. I would like to start with, give me a second, please, sorry. I would like to start with where I started. So my background, Judy kind of introduced it a little bit. I was born in Germany into a Turkish Muslim family. so my parents were very religious Muslims. They still are very religious Muslims. When we were born in Germany, when I was born in Germany in the 90s, Germany was still a country that was quite welcoming. Germany was admitting immigrants from different countries, different cultures, including Turkey. Turks have kind of a different, difficult background in Germany. Turkish people were initially intended to be guest workers in Germany, but then later these guest workers, this whole situation of being a guest worker is kind of turned into being permanent guests. So the people that came as guest workers to Germany didn't really want to return anymore, because Germany was simply a much better country to live in, a country with much better opportunities, with more freedom, with all that. And even if the Turkish people were always very proud, and patriotism, not only patriotism, but nationalism is very big in the Turkish culture. Even if Turkish people were very proud of their background and their culture, of the fact that they have Turkish names and a Turkish flag, they could not deny, as much as they tried, that Germany is simply a better place to live. And so it happened that the vast number of guest workers, Turkish guest workers in Germany, turned into a large number of immigrants and descendants of immigrants in Germany. Just give me a second. I don't know why I was trying to turn my sound off on my side. Okay, sorry for that. It's just completely throwing me off here. But yeah, so I was born as the child of such immigrants in Germany, and I was thereby a descendant or a second generation immigrant in Germany. And growing up within a very religious Muslim family, a very religious Turkish Muslim family, it was I had this. I was supposed to have an identity. In the Turkish culture, the Turkish culture is quite a collectivist, loyal culture. And if you are part of the Turkish nation, if you are part of the Turkish country, if you have a Turkish name, you are supposed to be loyal to that. You're supposed to be loyal to your country, to your nation, to your to the people of your country, and to all the values that your country stands for. On top of that, my parents were not just proud Turkish people, but also proud devout Muslims. And so I was also supposed to have a very proud, devout Muslim identity, which is extremely important. There is a difference that I want to go into further into my talk, but to simply hint at it, Islam is quite different from, say, Judaism and Christianity, for example, in that it is not simply a belief, and not even a set of rules and laws. It is directly seen as an identity, a nation. It is supposed to be a nation. So if you are a Muslim, you are part of this big nation. And it is therefore also quite normal that if you leave Islam, you are basically seen as a traitor who has betrayed this nation, and you lose everything, and you are meant to lose your life in the end too. Gladly, that was not the case for me. Growing up with that whole identity in Germany, people already people already live with some sort of an identity crisis. I was meant to be very religious in Germany, a religious Muslim in Germany, but on the other hand, I also really liked the German culture and the way Germans act and think, the stuff that I learn at school. And on the one hand, I'm supposed to learn that I'm supposed to stick to my very devout, very religious, very strict Islamic.
Sorry, you're muted.
We can't hear you, Apostate Prophet.
Oh, okay. Is it better now? How long did you not hear me?
Maybe 30 seconds. I think you must have just accidentally hit something.
I didn't hit anything, but I don't know why that happened. Yeah, sorry, I have my sound off, so I don't hear notifications, so I couldn't see.
Well, the last thing that we heard you say was that you like the German culture, how they act and think, and what you learned in school.
Oh yeah, thank you. So I really like the German culture. I really liked growing up within this German culture and being a part of that. I liked how people interact with each other, how there is freedom, how thinking for yourself is valued. I liked how people value understanding each other, tolerating each other, liking each other, being equal to each other. And but on the other hand, while I'm learning those things in the society, in German society, in German schools, and while I'm receiving not only an education on specific matters, but also a cultural education at school, at home, I would learn that I am a Muslim, I am a proud Muslim. The disbelievers are not to be trusted, and this is it might sound a little bit unbelievable and strange for people who are not familiar with the Muslim culture and the Islamic belief to hear this stuff. But that is basically what I grew up with. I would hear over the weekend that the disbelievers, the Germans, the Christians, especially the Jews, don't even speak of the Jews, that these people are basically immoral and unreliable, that we are not supposed to be good to them, we're not supposed to trust them and be close with them. I'm not supposed to learn from their culture. I'm supposed to preserve my own culture because I'm supposed to prepare for a possible future where we might fight the disbelievers that I go to school with, that I learn from in school. So I don't know how much anyone can imagine, if you are unfamiliar with that, what kind of a strange dilemma that is. But it confuses you. I was always confused right in the middle of that. I remember this one day where I went to school, and over the weekend I learned in a religious gathering that maybe not too far in a distant, maybe in a not too distant future, I will. The Jews are always a very sensitive topic in Islamic culture. I learned that the Jews will possibly fight us, and we Muslims will fight the Jews, and we will f- even the rocks and trees will reveal the Jews to us and ask us to come and kill them. But except for one specific tree, which is called the Gargat tree, which will not reveal them because that tree is also one of the Jews. It sounds very insane, I understand, but this is not something that I simply learned from my parents or from some religious gathering. No, it is something that I learned, that they taught to me, because it is directly found in Islam's fundamental scriptures, in the Hadith, which are reports, authentic reports about the things that Muhammad said. And this is something that Muhammad did indeed say. He said that that the last day will not come until you fight the Jews and you will kill them, and the rocks and trees will say, "Oh Muslim, come! There is a Jew behind me. Come and kill him." Except for one tree, which is the tree of the Jews, and I mean that is the mentality that I. So on that weekend, I remember learning that, and I remember that possibly soon the end times and the Islamic savior and all that will come, and I and all the other Muslims will probably have to go out and fight, have to fight the Jews and the disbelieving, treacherous Christians and all that stuff, and I remember after the weekend on Monday, simply standing there in the morning. I don't even know how old I was. I was probably in second grade or something like that. And I remember just standing there, having learned that on Monday, telling my friend about that, and just being kind of scared, feeling a little bit creepy about all that stuff. And then just a few minutes later, going into my classroom and facing all my uh, treacherous, disbelieving crusader Christian teachers and disbelieving, unreliable, immoral friends at school. So just a little taste of that's just a moment that I can never forget. And this is just a little taste of the stuff that you go through if you are in a religious Muslim family and you also grew up in such a culture like Germany. So I lived in that culture in Germany. My parents were very observing Muslims. My father used to constantly make remarks about how the Germans, and what he means by Germans is not simply German people. What he means by Germans is basically the non-Muslims around us in Germany. And I remember him and my family and other Muslims around us make these make just degrading, dehumanizing remarks about the people around us all the time. What is very funny is, I know this is controversial to say nowadays, but what is funny is that I would constantly hear how Germans or Europeans are racist against us and intolerant toward us, but I would barely hear any intolerance or any racism or any hate from them toward me, whereas I heard all this ridiculous stuff among my own people all the time, and didn't really know what to do with all that. But we kept on living like that. I remember 9/11 was a different experience, where at home and among my Muslim community, I was basically told that the Americans deserved that, or they should have seen it coming. Why do we pay attention to that? Why don't we cry about the people who die in Iraq instead, and stuff like that? And on the outside, I'm supposed to simply make no comment about 9/11, or I'm supposed to be just sad about it, or I'm supposed to have one attitude at home and a different attitude at school. Nevertheless, I don't even understand how I went through all those years while being stuck in this dilemma. I now understand that this is simply how people live. People learn at home that you cannot trust the disbeliever and you are an honorable Muslim, but they go into society simply not thinking about that actively and simply interacting normally with people while not revealing their inner beliefs and thoughts. Anyways, that's how it went. At some point in 2006, I had to move to Turkey because my parents decided, because my parents belonged to a certain movement, a certain sect within Islam, which is a mysticist sect. And the leader of that sect, mind you, mysticists are supposed to be they are known as Sufis within Islam, and Sufis, mysticists, are supposed to be the peaceful, more spiritual ones, the more tolerant ones, who don't put that much importance on literalism and legalism and hate and intolerance. But yeah, the sect that my parents belonged to decided that we have to move to Turkey now. It is time for us to leave the country of disbelievers, of the infidels. We have to move to Turkey and live there among our own people, which was kind of hard for me because I really liked Germany. When I was in Turkey, I went into a little bit of a very difficult identity crisis, the first big one, actually. I tried to like Turkey. I really couldn't. I tried to get into politics. I found myself becoming very socialistic, or I went into revolutionary communism. I now understand that was kind of a reaction that I had toward this culture that I was trying to become a part of, but couldn't like as it is, so I was trying to change it. That didn't work out. I was kind of shocked by Turkey a little bit because, as mentioned earlier, I liked Germany very much because in Germany there was people put a lot of importance on thinking for yourself, on education, advancement, understanding each other, tolerating each other, allowing differences and all that. And I used to have my friends would consist of men and women who treat each other equally, and people don't simply treat women like these other lesser people who are supposed to be quiet, who can be mistreated, whom men like me have an authority over. But when I went to Turkey, everything suddenly became very different. In Turkey, I had to see that women are not treated very well, to say the least. Women feel intimidated. Women have this internalized feeling, this internalized misogyny, feeling that they are women, that they are lesser, that they might be stupider, that they might need men to look out for them and to discipline them and be an authority over them. In fact, I remember this one conversation which happened much later when I left Islam. I was talking to a girlfriend of one of my best friends, and she asked me why I don't believe in Islam and why I'm so much against it. And I brought her a Quran, and I just opened a certain verse, which is Quran chapter 4, verse 34. That verse basically says men are protectors over women. If you fear arrogance from your wives, first advise them, then separate them in their beds, and finally strike them, beat them. And if they then correct themselves, then seek no means against them. And it doesn't even say if they do anything. It just says if you fear arrogance on their part, then you are supposed to advise them, then separate their beds, and then strike them, beat them. And I showed her that, and I was just looking at her face, looking for her reaction, and I always thought she's a very modern, a very open-minded, a very a very different woman in Turkey. And her reaction to me was basically, well, I don't think this should be a problem to you, because if my future husband sees that I am doing something wrong and that I'm basically harming myself and making stupid choices, then it should be his right to discipline me, to correct me. And I said, even by beating you? And she said, yeah, well, yes. I mean, a man is naturally stronger, and it should be in his power, in his authority, to correct me if I'm wrong. And I basically said, so what happens if he is wrong, and if he needs to be corrected? Who will do that? Will you do that? Because the Quran doesn't give you such an authority. And she was basically quiet about that. But what I'm trying to say is that people in this society, in the Turkish society, have this understanding that they are inferior, that they are supposed to be quiet, that they are supposed to act and walk and speak a certain way. And it just became very shocking and kind of ridiculous to me that that the Turkish society is indeed like that. Now, Turkey has become more and more religious when it comes to the government, when it comes to the politics. So many people who are kind of familiar with Turkey often ask this question and say, what happened to Turkey? Turkey used to be so good. It used to be secular. So what exactly happened? How did it become so bad? Why is it now led by an Islamist party? And my very honest response to that is Turkey was never good. Sorry, Turkey was never good. Turkey was never secular as people thought it was. Turkey was never very enlightened. It was never a very promising modern country. It was never very moderate. What is true is that Turkey, among Muslim countries, among Muslim cultures, is a country and a culture that is not that much that deep into Islamic fundamentalism. It is true that Turkish society allows certain things that are not allowed in many other Muslim cultures. It is true that in Turkey, some women can go to the beach in some places. It is true that Turkish music, for example, can be quite secular. It is true that Turkish movies, the Turkish entertainment industry, can be quite un-Islamic, if I can say it like that. But the issue is that people might know a certain Turkey, which they see when they visit Turkey and when they visit the touristic regions of Turkey, when they watch entertainment, when they watch Turkish movies or listen to Turkish music, when they when they visit the Blue Mosque and just roam those areas which are known for being touristic areas. But if you actually go a little bit deeper into Turkey, into areas where people live, where actual people live, where the average population lives, you will easily see that Turkey is not really that bright, not that secular, not that free, and never was. The media, the entertainment industries were were led by people who were very detached from the average population and were trying to depict Turkey as something that it is not. They were trying to depict Turkey as like a Western country. It is true that the founder of Turkey, Ataturk, intended to build a Turkey that detaches itself from Islam, from Islamic fundamentalism and other Muslim cultures. All of that is true, but Turkey never really achieved that. As soon as Ataturk died, for example, in 1938, and as soon as his party lost strength, Turkey started already turning itself again into this traditionalist Islamic society. And there has always been a clash going on in Turkey between the elite, secularist, Westernist people, or briefly known as the Kemalists. Kemalist stands for Ataturk's name, which is Mustafa Kemal Ataturk. People who are very loyal to his secular ideas are known as the Kemalists in Turkey, whereas all the others are basically known as the religious or the nationalist or conservative type. And those people have always been ruling the average society, whereas the secularists have always been ruling the entertainment and education fields of Turkish society. The issue is that things have started to change. Within the last 20 years, the current Islamist government came into power, took over, and suddenly this sentiment, this traditionalist Islamic Muslim sentiment, which was already always a very dominant part of the average Muslim society, the average Turkish society, suddenly came into the foreground, became the major force. Suddenly they had the say in the country. They were no longer forced out by a secular army or a secular media. This Islamist party slowly took over the army, took over the police, took over the entertainment industry and everything, and returned to its true face, which is the true face of Islamic Muslim Turkish society. And what we have therefore seen is not an Islamization of society. It is merely a revealing of the true face of Turkish society, and an Islamization of the state which resisted to being Islamicized. And so what we are having now is this Islamist force, this Islamist government, which is in power, is trying to actively turn this society wholly into a religious Muslim society too. And their statements about this have been very clear. The Turkish president Erdogan, who used to be a prime minister in the past and made himself the president, openly said things like that the future must be a religious, that the future youth must be a religious youth, a youth that adheres to our proud traditions and beliefs, and does no longer seek hope in the immoral West. The president openly went out and insulted atheists and others as basically those who are prone to become terrorists, and glorified Islam and Muslims, and said that this is the future of this country. And ever since, they have been trying to Islamize the country more and more. What I want to say is that Turkey was not great and was not secular, was not promising in the past, but Turkey has a promising future and can now, as a reaction to this whole Islamic authoritarianism that has been going on, become better, become more secular, become freer. And I see that when I look into Turkish music right now, or Turkish movies right now, when I look into Turkish social media right now, I see that the youth, which has been growing up under this Islamist government, is becoming very rebellious, and is really trying to find their way to live more like people live in the West. Gladly, we have the internet, we have the power of social media, which connects people all over the world. Turks were quite unfamiliar with how the world actually looks, but they have become more and more familiar with the freedoms and the happiness that people have in the West, which is not so distant, which is just a few hours driving away. And I see I've just been muted. I'm back. So we see that we see that this struggle is going on. We see that that young people want to have a brighter future, and I see that with myself. If I had gone out 20 years ago and spoken in Turkish about how terrible Islam is and how we need a better society, a better world, I would have been in great danger in Turkey, for example. But I go out now and speak about I go out and speak about my criticism of Islam and Muslim society now, and I see the backlash, and I see that that the Turkish law actually wants to prosecute me for that. That is currently happening. I have some lawsuits against me simply because I expressed my opinions about Islam, and simply because I said that the Quran is a very ignorant book, and that Muhammad is a very immoral, unreliable prophet who had a child bride and stuff like that. But that's very mild compared to what could have happened to me 20 or 30 years ago in Turkey. We have a Turkish scholar, for example, who was assassinated in the 90s, I believe, in Turkey. His name is Turan Dursun. He was the first outspoken Turkish atheist who used to be a former Islamic preacher and Islamic scholar, then turned into an atheist and started criticizing Islam, and his end came very quickly. He was killed by the Turkish Muslim fundamentalists. People still call for things like that, and I would say that if I lived in Turkey today, I would still be in danger. I would not be very safe. Of course, the law is on one side. I would be in trouble with the law all the time, so it wouldn't really make sense to stay there. But I would also be in immediate physical threat. My life would be in danger. Things have become different. I see more and more people who speak out and who get away with that, even among all the threats and even among all the persecution and harassment that comes from the government. So Turkey was never good. In summary, Turkey became extremely Islamists. So Islam regained attention and power, but the future seems brighter. And if you look at recent reports, at media reports, at researches, we also see that people in Turkey are becoming less religious as we are speaking. So that is a very, 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 very good, very promising thing that is currently going on. Now, sorry, give me a second. Now, I've talked a lot about how my life as a Muslim was, and I talked about how Islam is bad and Islam is oppressive and all of that stuff. The issue is that Islam is a very sensitive topic, as many of you know, in the West. In the Islamic world, in the Muslim world, among Muslims, it is unimaginable to really oppose Islam and to really speak against Islam and to publicly want to reject Islam. In the West, I mean, in the Islamic world, you are basically in danger if you do that. You could be lynched and killed. We have many cases of that. We have people lynched and killed and spending the rest of their lives in prisons in Pakistan, for example, or in other Muslim countries. People who didn't even speak out against Islam, but people who were simply suspected of having criticized or having insulted Islam. We had one recent case of a woman called Asia Bibi. Maybe I shouldn't say her name. She doesn't want to get the attention anymore, but because she's free in Canada now. But she spent years, 6, 7, or 8 years in Pakistan in a prison because people accused her of having insulted Muhammad, but people didn't even have any proof for that. But she spent 8 years or 9 years on death row in Pakistan. And someone else, Mashal Khan, was a student, a guy in Pakistan who was accused of having insulted Islam without any proof. A crowd of hundreds of people gathered and lynched him in a very brutal way, kicked him, stepped on him, and killed him right there without the police doing anything. This is stuff that happens in Muslim society. I recently asked a Muslim apologist who is in the UK and asked what would happen to me, an apostate from Islam, in an ideal Muslim society. And he basically said to me, well, what would happen in an ideal Muslim society is that people would take the law into their own hands and kill you. That's what he said. And stuff like this is considered quite normal in the Muslim world. Of course, when we come to the West, criticizing Islam suddenly becomes a matter that is not dangerous, but that is sensitive. And people who are vastly unfamiliar with how Muslim society looks, with what Islam looks like, with what Islam teaches and how it is different from other religions, suddenly start accusing us of being Islamophobic when we speak against Islam or about Islam in any critical way. Even when we express the mildest criticism. For example, a recent incident I remember, what's that actor's name? It's on the tip of my tongue, but the guy who was on Jurassic Park, and who recently also joined a a drag show on TV, whatever. He was making a remark about a participant in the show, and said something like, "Isn't there something in Islam that is anti gay and anti women?" And he was immediately attacked, brutally attacked on social media by the media and by many other people simply for that remark. And all that guy did was to simply make a little inquiry, to simply ask a question. I mean, he didn't even express any opinion. He didn't even thoroughly criticize anything. Yeah, Jeff Goldblum. Someone said it. DLG said it. Jeff Goldblum. That's what happened to him recently, a few months ago. Thank you. And we have a different incident from Ben Affleck, for example. He was several years ago. I don't know. That seems like a long time ago. Was it like 4 or 5 years ago? But he was on Bill Maher, for example. Sam Harris was there. Sam Harris and Bill Maher were talking about how Islam is problematic, and Muslim societies has very problematic attitudes and very problematic beliefs when it comes to basic human rights. And Ben Affleck was basically there. Simply saying stuff like, that's gross, that's racist, it's disgusting what you guys are talking about. And the audience applauded him. And this is the general sentiments. People have the idea in the West that if we criticize Islam, we are somehow being gross and racist. We are somehow targeting a minority of people. We are being bigoted and hateful and prejudiced and all that. But on the other hand, I just told you some brief excerpts from my own life where we as Muslims talked in the most awful and the most dehumanizing ways about Christians and Jews, and we were being prepared to possibly exterminate the Jews and fight the Christians, and I was taught the most awful, the most disgusting things. I was suddenly being turned into a person who was supposed to see women as lesser beings, whereas I grew up loving the idea that we are all equals. I grew up loving the idea that we are all simply humans, and we interact with each other and help each other, and we don't oppress each other, or don't treat each other as lesser individuals just because of our gender or because of our identity or our beliefs. Suddenly I was being turned by Islam, by Muslim society, by the most basic Islamic teachings into a hateful, disgusting individual who is supposed to have an oppressive mindset. Within the Turkish culture, within the Muslim culture, the Islamic culture, I was, as a questioning person, mistreated. When I left Islam and expressed my mildest criticism, one of my friends that I had known for 5 years told me that he would love to cut my head off and throw it into the Taksim Square in Istanbul, which is the biggest public square in Turkey or even in Europe. And because in Islam it is taught that people who leave Islam are supposed to be executed. That is a teaching that comes directly from Prophet Muhammad's own words, that people who leave Islam, that people who change their religion deserve to be killed, that no Muslim deserves to be killed except for those who leave Islam, or for those who commit certain immoralities like adultery, for example. And suddenly here in the West, when we speak out against that, when we simply speak about that, when we simply report about that, or simply ask questions about that, we are suddenly confronted with this absurd idea that we are being Islamophobic and judgmental. And that, I'm sorry, is a result of a very narrow-minded thinking, of a very short-sighted perspective, of a very short-sighted way to look at things, of a very naively Western way, or often a naively American way to look at things. In the West, as said, I loved the idea that we are supposed to be tolerant and loving, and we're supposed to understand everyone and understand each other and all that. So the average Western person I would say this is more the case in Europe than in America. But the average Western person wants to finds virtue in tolerance, finds virtue in understanding others, in wanting to help others, wanting to help those who come from a distant culture. The average Western person sees that as virtuous. In our society, it is considered virtuous to have tolerance, to understand each other, to give them rights, and to embrace them, to help them. And doing the opposite, or even not doing that, is considered disgraceful. It is immoral. And within this love for tolerance and this zeal for tolerance and for love and respect, which I appreciate, which is why what I love so much about the West, Western people become extremely naive and take this to a level where they where they do not see the flaws and the dangers in the things that they want to be tolerate toward. They in the West, people in the West want to look at Muslims as a minority that we are not supposed to in any way judge, not supposed to doubt or mistreat in any way, and we are supposed to every possible opinion, every possible negative opinion that we have about them and their beliefs is seen as prejudice and as bigotry and as hate, because we want to have this Western perspective. Of course, in the West, Muslims are a minority, and what do we do for minorities? We help them, we understand them, we tolerate them. They have different ideas, different beliefs. We try to not look at those beliefs too much. We try to not focus on those things too much. We try to understand them and try to help them as much as possible. But we forget that. We forget that the people that we are dealing with, that the beliefs that we are dealing with are also people, are also beliefs, that they also bear horrible things, which we also have in our own culture. In the West, when we look at ourselves and we see ourselves engage in very terrible, hateful, awful thinking, we condemn ourselves, we condemn the people among us and try to correct them. When we look at the history of Western nations, when we look at American history, we try to condemn all the awful stuff that happened in American history, all the bad stuff that happened in Western culture. We try to point it out explicitly over and over again. Slavery is bad. The way we treated these people is bad. The way we did that is bad. The way we oppressed women is bad. The way we treated homosexuality just until just a few decades ago is bad. We try to point this out relentlessly and criticize that and correct that, which is good, which is what we should do. But we somehow forget that this other culture that is right there at our door, Islam, also possibly has flaws, and that the flaws that this culture has, that the flaws that this belief system has, might be even much worse than our own beliefs and our own culture. We are completely blind to that and try to simply find goodness and run from any scrutiny when it comes to different cultures and different beliefs. And I don't ever know really how to express this and how to further make people understand what is really going on here. I just try to say, I am a former Muslim. I am an ex-Muslim. I come from a belief and a culture where I learned that women are inferior, where I learned that we are supposed to execute gay people. We learned that we are supposed to treat others justly, but not lovingly, not fairly. We are supposed to love our fellow Muslims, but not love the disbelievers, because Allah does not love them. Allah only loves us. I learned all these things, and I learned that if I change my attitude and if I disbelieve, if I choose to not believe anymore, I will have committed treason, apostasy, and I deserve to be executed. Now I come to the West. I find freedom in the West. I find reason in the West. I find development, great feelings, great freedoms, great rights in the West. And I love it. I agree with it. And I feel like I have suddenly freed myself from the chains, from captivity, and I have come to a place of brightness, of freedom, of hope. But then what do I see? I see that the people who are here in this beautiful place are telling me that I am not to criticize that horrible place that I came from. I am not to speak out against that horrible place that I came from. I'm not to look at all the bad things that I experienced when I was in that horrible place, because that would be bigoted, that would be Islamophobic, that would be prejudiced, and we don't want that stuff here. We just want to not look at that. We just want to be good. We want to develop our own society. We want to develop our own Western society and get rid of all the bad stuff, but we don't want to correct and improve those cultures that are over there. We are just supposed to hug them as they are, even if they are terrible. And that is a very short-sighted way of thinking. I want to reference my friend and fellow ex-Muslim Yasmin Mohammed, whom many of you might also know. She said it very well that in the West we have this thinking, especially among the liberal left-leaning crowds, we have this thinking that we are supposed to oppose white supremacy and white privilege and all that. We're supposed to point out white privilege. But then the same people who do that also too often engage in a certain kind of white supremacy and white privilege, in that they only want their own culture and their own society to become better, to be corrected, whereas they do not want those inferior cultures like the Muslim culture to be improved, to be corrected, to be enlightened. And that is that is in a way white privilege, that is in a way white supremacy, because I am supposed to look at how your culture, the Western culture, the white American culture is getting better, how big corporations and politicians and artists and the media and everybody is rapidly trying to improve and make this society so much better. But then I'm not supposed to wish and do those same things for the bad culture that I came from. No, I'm supposed to simply embrace it, even if it wants to kill me and torture me. And that just I don't know how I can possibly express how strangely awful that feels, and how unfair it is. Yeah. So finally, I want to say I think I'm almost done with my speech. It was actually very well timed, but I want to say so finally, I don't know if I have been able to deliver the emotions and the thoughts and the dilemma and the double standards and the hypocrisy that is going on here. I always appreciate it when people want to be compassionate and want to improve society and want to treat others, including minorities, well. I see that people are coming from a good place there. I'm coming from a place of compassion, which is a good place. It bears good emotions that I like, emotions that I find productive. But those emotions are often getting in the way of progress in different cultures. What I see often, and it might be harsh to put it this way, but what I often see is that when I, for example, speak out for my own rights and for the rights of ex-Muslims, I don't even want to dramatize my own situation too much. I am in a very good situation. I have very good opportunities. There are so many ex-Muslims, hundreds, thousands of them. Many of them send me emails and messages all the time. They tell me that that they love listening to me because I can express all the things that they cannot express because they don't have the luxury. They don't have the freedom to do it. They are afraid for their lives. They are afraid for everything that they have. People live in fear, and people face oppression, murder, torture if they simply want to express their opinions, or if they simply want to reveal that they no longer believe in Islam. So I don't want to dramatize my own situation very, very much, but when I want to speak for them and seek their freedom, when I want to improve this culture and correct this belief and get rid of this belief, which I think is a great evil in this world, then if then Western people, compassionate, good Western people, come and tell me I shouldn't be doing this, then what is actually happening is that they are indirectly, without knowing, unbeknownst to themselves, fighting me, preventing me from finding freedom, preventing hundreds, thousands, maybe millions of people from having a better life, which is why we should recognize that Islamophobia is a bunch of nonsense, that we should work for progress, for enlightenment, for a better world, not only in the West, but everywhere. We should stop this bigotry of low expectations, stop this treatment of other cultures as if they can never be bad. We should unite and work toward a better future, work toward better rights, and never respect ideas and beliefs which forbid criticism, forbid apostasy, and even punish it with violence and justify that. I hope everything is clear, and thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you so much. That was fabulous. Are you open to taking questions?
Yes, of course, definitely.
All right. So let's see. We had a question. Margie was asking about Turkey and the EU. Does Turkey want to join the EU? Still want to join the EU? Do you know about Turkey and the EU?
Yeah, it's funny, people even make fun of that nowadays in Turkey. But so Turkey was on a track to join the European Union. Turkish people really wanted to join. People, when asked online, Turkish people often say that they are Europeans, so they really want to do that. The ruling party, the ruling traditionalist Islamist party, has kind of changed the direction of that, and they don't really want to work for or pursue the becoming a member or a part of the European Union anymore. But many people in Turkey still want it. Even if they deny it, they still want it, because they would love to become part of the European Union. They would love to roam the European Union freely. I even say sometimes, you will often hear from people that they dislike the West, they hate the West, and this and that. But if you went out in Turkey and distributed free passports and visas for Europe, people would trample each other to get one.
Thank you. Wayne and Diane were wondering, are there any liberal Muslim countries? Is there such a thing?
Thank you for that. Well, it's a difficult question. There are some countries that are that still have a significant Muslim population, or even a majority Muslim population, but that are very un-Islamic. Some examples that come to my mind are, I don't know what the demographics in Albania and Kosovo look like. Meanwhile, if people have become mostly irreligious or mostly non-Muslims, but those countries are, for example, Muslim countries that are very far away from Muslim fundamentalism. Certain Asian, Middle Asian, Turkic countries like Kazakhstan are, for example, quite liberal. I would say Turkey is, compared to other Middle Eastern countries and compared to countries like Pakistan, for example, still quite liberal. But liberal under those circumstances is just very different from liberal in a Western context.
Yeah, DLJ is saying Malaysia and Indonesia are more liberal, but more in the cities than in the countryside.
Yeah. I mean, Indonesia is, for example, still a country that has laws which limits which limits what religion you identify with, and how you can express your own beliefs. It also has certain provinces, or one province especially where Islamic law is applied, and people are publicly, flogged for public indecencies, or for simply stuff like holding hands or kissing each other. Malaysia is still a country that restricts belief to certain religious beliefs, and forbids the identification with other beliefs. So these countries are, in a certain sense, secular and liberal, but they still have many of these laws and sentiments which prevent them from ever being regarded as liberal, free, secular countries.
Okay, we have
Thank
a
you.
question here asking, do you think Islam did any good for human history as a whole?
Well, it's a difficult question. I say, when I'm asked if there's anything that I like about Islam, I jokingly say no, and that's all there is. Or I say it's fun to criticize it. That's what I like about Islam. But I find that it has done something for human development, in that it has united people, united cultures that were very very disorganized and backward, and turned them into advanced societies, which were then much more likely to find scientific progress and advance into the future and become better. But insofar, so for human development, it has done something. But then again, um, if it had been left to a different ideology or a different religion, it could have turned out much better. Islam has done much more damage than it has helped people.
Are you affiliated with any ex-Muslim groups or any groups that advocate for people who are oppressed under Muslim countries?
Thank you. I am part of ex-Muslims of North America. So I am a member there. I'm not very active there, but I am a member. I'm also a member and part of the advisory council of the Atheist Alliance International, which also happens to be one of the atheist organizations that is quite outspoken about Islam and very supportive of ex-Muslims in general. And I'm also, by the way, a member of the Atheist Association of Turkey, which is actually the first ever atheist organization in the Muslim world that is legally recognized. And that is a very new development. I'm trying to help out them too as much as I can. Yeah.
All right. We have one attendee who is ex-Muslim, but then became Christian.
Oh.
Do you have opinions about Christianity?
Yeah, so I have a very diverse audience. It's I don't focus on. I'm an atheist myself, and I say I am very sure that there is no God. I'm very convinced of that. But I'm not against religion altogether. I'm not even against the belief in Allah as far as Islam is concerned. I'm simply against Islam because it is extremely harmful and stands out as a very destructive religion among religions. So because of my attitude in that regard, I have very many viewers who are also Christians or Hindus or others, for example. I disagree with Christianity greatly when it comes to morals. I find that its theology is quite flawed and doesn't make much sense to me, and therefore I would never find myself believing in it, although at some point I really sympathized with it and really loved it. but yeah, that's pretty much it. Yeah.
Okay, great. Thank you. Thank you so much. Well, we have one question here. I don't know if it's a serious question. If you could travel back in time, could you stop Muhammad?
That is actually something that is actually a scenario, a thought experiment that I've thought about so often. I even joked about that once, and someone was saying something about executing the prophet, and I said, "Hey, that's not something that I haven't thought about." And I have thought about stuff like that, and it's just the thing is, Muhammad is a character that was for his own society. He was pretty bad, even under his own standards, even in his own context, in his own culture. He was a very bad guy. But the thing is, there were many bad guys in history, many bad historical characters. If Muhammad was simply a historical figure in the past, I wouldn't even be here judging him as I wouldn't even be here judging his morals. The problem that we have with him is that Muhammad is the central figure of Muhammad, and Muslims are not simply only supposed to follow him, but they are also supposed to regard him as the perfect representation, the perfect human to ever walk the face of the earth, and they are supposed to emulate him, basically imitate him in everything that he did and did not do. And Muhammad was an extremely problematic figure, and imitating such a problematic figure in the 21st century has destructive consequences. And Muhammad is, in that context, a horrible figure relevant to us nowadays.
Do you stay in touch with your family members still in Turkey?
My relationship has been harmed a lot by the fact that I have left Islam and that I have decided to publicly criticize Islam. I think if I had died, that would have been easier for my parents to handle than me not only leaving Islam, but also becoming such a voice against Islam. I am in touch with them, but although no one wants to admit it, the relationship has become very difficult. We don't talk that much anymore. We don't really share that much anymore. So yeah.
What advice would you give to Westerners to support what you are trying to do and what the movement is up to? How can we help?
I think one of the first things is not something that people should do, but something that people should not do, which is to which is to not um, support this idea, this thinking that criticizing Islam is Islamophobic, or that seeking emancipation from Islam is somehow Islamophobic or prejudiced, or even when it comes to things like we shouldn't single out Islam, or we shouldn't say Islam, or what about Christianity, or Christianity is worse. All of these things are just, even when people genuinely think they are trying to be fair and trying to mention Christianity too because they don't want to single out Islam, you wouldn't do the same thing if Christianity was criticized. You wouldn't come and say, well, but what about Islam? No, you do that because you don't want to single out Islam. You don't want to sound intolerant. So I would say at first, just recognize that you don't have any obligation to protect Islam or to evade, the bigotry and Islamophobia labels. But then, if you truly want to support these movements, there are certain organizations like Ex-Muslims of North America that greatly try to speak for ex-Muslims. I would simply say you can support them. You can support my channel, what I'm doing. I'm trying to spread knowledge. But yeah, these are just some steps.
Yeah, same with Secular Jihadists for Muslim Enlightenment, SJME, Atheists Republic, Armin Navabi's, as well as the ones that you've mentioned in your own channel, which we'll be happy to promote.
Mhm.
Okay, let's see. Oh, here's a question. Is Islam in America any better than other places?
It actually is, and I think it greatly distorts how people look at Islam because I think certain. I've seen many articles on this too, that many people, professionals too, agree that the Islam that is practiced in America is the most un-Islamic Islam there is in the world. Muslims who decide to come to America are often Muslims who are willing to take that major step and to cross the ocean and leave their societies behind. And that, as mentioned, is not an easy thing for Muslims to do because they are supposed to be a proud Muslim nation altogether. So people who come to America are probably often people who kind of are ready to leave things behind or to embrace something new. That said, there are still Muslim organizations in America and still Muslim individuals and preachers in America that have extremely horrible views. But I would say on average, the Muslim community in America is much better in their beliefs and ideas than the Islamic organizations or societies in Europe or in the Islamic world.
Okay, great. Thank you. I think that's all the questions that we have. Again, thank you so much for speaking with us today and educating us on this.
I have some.
Appreciate it very much.
I see some messages that people sent directly to me here.
Oh, sure.
Some direct messages. Brian Josel said in a message, "What do you think the future of Islam is? Do you think it's taking its last breath and people will get sick of it?" Yeah. So I would say that I don't give Islam much time. I would say that within the next 200 years, Islam will significantly decline, even much faster, I think, than Christianity. Although you would think that Christianity is declining quite fast in Western post-Christian societies. People embrace a new way of thinking, a new way of living, don't believe anymore, and so on. But Islam has an extremely tight grip, an extremely strict, oppressive attitude towards society. And if people find freedom from that, they want to run away much faster. Which is why I think ex-Muslims are often much more aggressive in their in their criticism of their former religion than ex-Christians are. And I would think, and I hope that the decline of Islam will be therefore much faster. There is one question here. Do you think that Muslims in the US are more liberal? I think that's the person asked the same question then publicly. A said, hey, I love you and respect your character. I thank you so much. I appreciate that. And I think that's pretty much it. I see one more message saying your
Mhm.
speaking skills have gone through the. Thank you. Have gone through the. Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank
Oh,
you.
here's one more from DLJ. Do you see it? You close each of your podcasts saying, stay away from Islam,
Yeah, yeah,
but you
yeah,
don't say stay away from Muslims.
yeah. Staying about the existence of God, but want to stay in their comfort zone of culture. And can you promote the idea of ex-Islam more than ex-Muslim? I get that. I mean, when I refer to myself as ex-Muslim, or when people refer to themselves as ex-Muslims, all they are trying to really say is that I used to be a Muslim, and Islam is basically like a cult, just a very big one, one that you enter with a creed and you're not allowed to leave it unless you want to die. And therefore we call ourselves ex-Muslims to point this out, to signify that we are people who have indeed left this religion behind, and you can do it too. That is what we are trying to say. When I say stay away from Islam, I'm really just trying to tell Western people foremost to that Islam is a very bad idea. But I'm also trying to tell Muslims that they should leave Islam behind. I wouldn't say stay away from Muslims. No, I wouldn't want to judge people or treat people differently based on their ideas and beliefs.
Yeah, I think we like to say, right, that
Mhm.
Islam is an ideology and it's worthy of criticism, and we can be opposed to that ideology. Muslims
I
are
mean,
people, they're human beings,
yeah. I
right?
mean, I
And
want to
often a
say,
victim of
yeah. Yeah.
Islam, just as much as Christians are a victim of Christian teachings and so on.
I mean, I was a very radical Muslim myself. So who am I to now come and judge Muslims or average Muslims based on who or what they are? I want to see Muslims leave Islam. I want to embrace them and communicate with them. I appreciate them as humans. I want them to stop believing in that thing which damages them and us.
Mhm. Great. Okay, thank you. I think
Can I
we're
speak?
done. Are we done?
Can I speak?
Excellent.
Can I speak for a moment?
Oh, yes.
Yes, yes. I am from a South Asian Muslim majority country called Bangladesh. It is the third largest Muslim majority country by population. They tried to convert me a lot, but I knew about Islam. That's why I did not convert. I researched a lot. They hate Hindus a lot and call us Malaun and Mushrik, which is cursed people. We are polytheists. That's why we are cursed, that we will burn in hell. They also hate the West and Western values such as secularism and liberalism. And they want to destroy the West by infiltrating it by using migration tactics. They want to take a lot of children and be majority, and then they will try to destroy the West from within. They also love Turkey, as they think that Turkey is a strong military power and Turkey will help them to destroy Europe and to revive the caliphate. They also want women to stay in home so that they can take more children and do jihad. Jihad means religious war. I mean, the problem lies within Islam. They hate the West a lot. All I can say that the West should be very cautious and conscious about Islam. In the coming days, many Muslim nations will see political instability, and these instabilities might lead to war. So I suggest West becomes cautious about Islam very soon. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for your comments. I think this is the first time anyone from Bangladesh has logged into any of our meetings, so appreciate your comment.
Thank you so much.
Okay, all right. I have a few other announcements to make
Wait,
about
just a
upcoming
question.
events.
The Bangladesh guy, are you in Bangladesh now?
Yes, yes, I'm in Bangladesh.
Okay. All right, let me share a screen, hopefully the right screen, about some upcoming events that we have. So I hope you can see this. Sunday, March 14th, Dave is going to do another one of his updates about all the countries in the world, all the states in the US, all the counties in California, what's happening with the pandemic. Also in March, we've got Dr. Daryl Ray coming in March, talking about those people who have left their religion. His organization, Recovering from Religion, helps people in that journey. In addition, he has founded the Secular Therapy Project, groups of vetted therapists who can assist people in that journey. So that's going to be Saturday, March 20th. Then in April, we've got Dr. Mark Juergensmeyer from UCSB, who wrote this book, Terror in the Mind of God, talking about Proud Boys and white nationalists and looking at them as Christian terrorists. Are they Christian terrorists? And finally, I wanted to mention that we've just booked Hank Pellissier for May. He is the director of the Humanist Global Charity. And I've asked him to come talk to us about who is the Humanist Global Charity, what do they do, what's their current focus, and what are their projects. So I invite you all to come back and join us for any of those talks. So with that, I'll officially close the meeting. If anyone wants to stay afterwards, we can stop the recording. We'll stick around